Yo, what up, guys? This one's gonna be a little bit different. I'm gonna do like more like a story time because I'm just in this energy and it's like I just feel like I need to go ahead and see like maybe I can articulate it well in this moment. Um, I'm a little bit worked up because it's coming up on the year of my mother's death, and um and I wanted to look up the death record because when she first died, when they first told me she died last year in May, that I I just tried to look it up just to confirm it, for myself, confirm her death for myself, and I never could find it, and I forgot about it, and So, anyways, I thought about it today. Like, I want to go look it up. It should be on there right now. So I looked, and I don't see the death record. And they told me, I'm pretty sure she died in Sacramento County. Okay, so I texted my grandfather and I said, what county did my mother die in? I can't find the record. I don't know if he'll respond or not. I kind of expect he won't, but maybe he will. Based on his response or non-response, I'll also make a conclusion. I'm highly suspicious of him. I mean, my intuition, I don't doubt at all. It's so devastating, it's hard to even speak on. You know what I'm saying? It's hard to even articulate. You know, because I know I still got to be careful. But my mother spent the last year of her life slandering me, trying to destroy me over my grandmother's inheritance. She was the power of attorney over a trust that my grandmother set up for me. And my grandmother passed 2023, and she spent that time doing everything in her power to keep it away from me, and essentially she died for it. Like, even if we want to say, oh, it was natural, like, the stress of being a bitch fucking killed her. Like, and that's why I be looking at my family like, how dare y'all let her destroy herself like this? Like, why would you guys, what? And that's how I know that the other things that I believe are true. You know what I'm saying? Like, the other things that I have concluded based on the information that I've been able to gather. You know what I'm saying? And my intuition is most of it. Shit. But it's like I've been confirmed by things in the physical. The physical is confirming the spiritual. And even doing this message right now, my heart was feeling kind of heavy. Well, after I looked, I was already like, I think I should talk about, I want to tell my story because, first of all, I want it on every platform. I want the story on every platform because it is a level of protection for me, so that they know that I know, so that they can stay the fuck back. Because if anything happens to me, then first things first, let's go check into everybody that has been named. Everybody who's part of this family that Rim's been speaking up against. And so, first of all, it's protection. Okay, so speaking your truth protects you. Okay, I'm gonna tell you something, friends. Like, not speaking up for myself, not standing up for myself, that never got me nowhere. I always was like, oh, me, oh, I don't get bothered. Fuck that. Okay, fuck that. Okay, you have to stand up for yourself. No one else will. Period. Teach your children, teach your daughters, teach your sons. Everybody needs to stand up for themselves. Okay, it's because you deserve justice. You don't deserve to get rammed over. So, anyways, whatever happened to my mother, she deserved it. She called that into her life, and I never thought that I never thought that I would speak ill against my mother. I'm not that type of person. I love family. I'm all about the matriarch. Like, I never thought that I would ever be this frank and blunt about her death. Okay? But it is what it is. You know, I recently thought, like, you know, I made a conclusion because sometimes we have conflicting emotions about a certain thing. So what do we do with it? Lesson. I realize it's been difficult to grieve, right? Because my mother was trying to harm me. She put myself and children in harm's way. In fact, that was the plan, is for me to be harmed so that she could keep this money and not get in trouble for being a thief. And for everybody who she got involved. Mainly probably public embarrassment was the biggest part. Okay? But I realized that, so for based off that, I'm like, bitch, you getting everything you deserve. Aha, you died trying to kill me. That's how I feel. Okay? Majority, you know, as an adult, as a girl, if I looking at the situation, I'm like, well, I'll be damned. Okay? But then the little girl in me who loved her so much, who thought she was beautiful and cool and just wanted her attention, wanted her approval, you know what I'm saying? Just wanted to spend time with her, really enjoyed her. Just, it didn't matter what my mother offered me, I would have ate it up. Okay? And she starved me, by the way. But anyways, but the little girl in me, I have to acknowledge her and say, you know, what she's feeling is, why would you ever do this? Why would my mother want to hurt her own daughter? Why would she want to hurt me in particular? I don't deserve it. Why would my family go against me for no reason? For chump change? For chump change. Okay. And why, you know, how come nobody wants to defend me? And just how could you energy, you know? And then my other thing, that if my mother did just go crazy because she never healed from the trauma, right? It's like, how could the family sit up here and aid her in her own demise? You know, that's the little girl in me. It's just like, why and how could you? You know, like, and so it felt really good to acknowledge both parts of me. Like, both are valid, you know? And so it's okay if there's times when I feel like, why and how could you, and I hate how it never got resolved. My mother and I got into a fight in 2017. It was something that definitely could have gotten resolved. It was really just two girls in pain. Okay? Me being like, Mom, just be my mom. And my mom being like, I don't know how. I can't make it up to you. Right? But nobody else was there. So, and I, like I said, not speaking up for myself, not saying, hey, she came over to my house trying to start some shit. She don't know how to deal with issues. Instead of me talking like that to my grandparents and making it like, oh, she don't, you know, saying my piece, I was quiet as if as if we were just going to be quiet about it. But instead she goes making up her side of the story. You know, and nobody ever asked me. In fact, by the time it came to me, shit, they didn't give a fuck. I was being damned to hell. Okay, and I ain't did shit. Not even a little bit, not even a small, not even anything. I don't feel a lick, a piece of guilt. In fact, God told me back when me and my mom got in that fight, because my mom, we got into a little tussle, right? No hit, nothing. I even allowed her to kind of hit me, but she didn't really go in, you know? But I knew that we were breaking up again, me, my mother and I. And I was feeling devastated, but what she said, she's like, you're just a negative person. That's what you are, you're just a negative person. And when she said that, I stopped and I looked around, and I was in my own living room, and I was a homeschool mom, and I was, you know, really into spirituality, really into God, you know, and I had created something that I was called word art for my kids. That because I was homeschooling them, and so it's like you take a affirmation word like happy or love or night, whatever, and then you like write it, but you make it like artistic. You make like this abstract thing, and then we would put it on the wall, and that's how it was like decorated. And so I'm looking up, and she's like, "You're just a negative person." And I look up, and I'm like, all these affirmations, and I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm not a negative person. And that was when I knew and I started to accept. It still took time for me to grieve the loss of the connection with my mom, but I knew then that it wasn't me. That she was unhealed and she just wasn't willing to do the work. She didn't want to see my side of it. She didn't want to make amends. She didn't want to give me any peace or satisfaction whatsoever. Okay? And so I just was like, and that it was just her. Fuck all that about what she didn't want to do for me. She just wasn't there mentally, And not to say that she couldn't hold a job and take care of her business or handle her own money. That's not what we're talking about. People be unhealed taking care of business all the time. Surviving all the time. It's just, what is she manifesting? Nothing but negativity. Okay? Because of her mindset. As we can see, whether she's dead or not, she can't even live because you know what I'm saying? Like, if she faked her death, which to me is like, but I'm just like, I don't see the death record though. Why did you tell everybody you're dead? But that just proves what I'm talking about, right? About that she stole my money and she paid hitmans and the family's a cult Mason, but dumb, not really smart though, okay? And they were all greedy as shit over and I believe they put an insurance policy on me. My uncle, who died 2 weeks after my grandma, okay? There's a lot to this. There's a lot since 2023, March. Since spring 2023, it's been a lot, okay? My grandmother died spring 2023, March 31st, I think. Yeah, I believe she died March 31st. I had a dream like 6 months before she died, and my grandmother was in the dream, and I arrived at my mother's house, and my grandma was there, and my mother was there, and her husband was there, and her husband was looking at me like, and my mother was trying to act like she didn't even see me. She was like running around like doing stuff, but like not acknowledging me. And then my grandma was like, and there was other people there, but they were irrelevant. And I woke up from the dream, and it made me feel like, first of all, her husband was watching me, and like on my social media platform, and two, I don't know. It scared me because I had intentions. I had just moved out the state, out of California. I moved to Atlanta, and I was really proud of myself. I was running my business. I was getting it, okay, and elevating, manifesting, and so I wanted to call and just be like, hey, update, I'm doing well, yeah, I just felt like I finally had something to report, because and so, but I had that dream the week I was like, I'm gonna call him and say something. I had that dream, and it made me like be like, did she die already? That's what scared me. I thought, see, my grandma was sick. She had this disease that I really felt like was more of a spiritual thing. And I really felt like I could have healed her, but I was in a place in my life where I wouldn't speak up. I got the healing antidote, right? I know that the treatment that my grandmother is receiving is not good for her. I knew it wasn't. But who's going to listen to me? I wasn't as mature as I am now in 2017, or as not even as mature, because I was mature, but I wasn't as confident in myself, and I wasn't as wise. You know what I'm saying? It's just more experience. And plus, I know more about, like, the body and herbs and stuff. But even still, like, I knew CBD would have helped my grandma. Like, that's what I was thinking to myself in my head. I was like, take some CBD! But I didn't have my own experience with CBD at that time. Now, oh, I hope it's not a flag word, but whatever. Now I know CBD for real, like, that shit will change your life. Okay? Like, get you some. I don't care what your ailment is. Shit, you don't really have to have one. You don't know what kind of parasites is inside your body. Take some CBD. Okay? No, puppy. She was getting in too much now. She's been good so far. But anyways, I knew that I could heal her back then, bro, but I didn't speak up. I didn't know how to. And I froze, you know? On that. That's one thing, like, just cat had my motherfucking tongue. But, you know, it's funny because we had this day, me and my mom were trying to work it out or whatever, so she was like, okay, well, I'm gonna have a meeting with me, my mom, and my grandparents. She set it up. My mother set it up. They wanted to do that. And then we're just gonna talk about whatever. But when the day came, I was hella sick. My throat was like, I couldn't speak. Ain't that fucking weird? It's like the previous couple of days, it's like I was losing my voice. But the day came where I was supposed to talk with my grandparents and my mom. I still went. And they told me their stories. That's when I learned about my great grandma and stuff. But I couldn't say anything. I always thought about that, like it was meant to be like that. It was meant that I just shut the fuck up. I think it was meant for me not to teach them, and for me not to put my input, for them to be able to just make their own assumptions. One conversation with me, for real, you know I'm smart as fuck. I don't have to know everything. You don't have to know everything about everything to be the type of person who can pick up what you're putting down. Somebody who makes sense out of things. Somebody who can, I'm an intellectual. That's obvious. Look at me. There's no script here. Okay. Okay. And it's like, I'm only saying that not to brag, but to be like, these are people who were in my face playing. But how smart are they? Anyways, I feel like it was meant to be that they never really got to experience me, like, until now. Until they really see me in, like, full blown in my platform, like, speaking. It's like they didn't take the time to get to know me, or else they would have known. Like, my parents who raised me, because I was adopted, they know me. They would never play with me like this. They would just tell me what's up. You know, like, if you want to take me off the wheel or whatever, just say it. Look, you didn't come around and we heard some bad things about you, so that's what we did. We took you out of the wheel. Fucking own up to it. Just say you took it. Just say you took the money. You don't gotta fucking kill me. You know? So what if you look like a fucking asshole? And you never had no good reason to mistreat me. And that is wrong, and you ruined my grandmother's legacy, and you didn't follow her wishes. That's illegal, I think, though, when stuff is written. But still, so what? Fucking, why are you so scared to admit what you did? You did it. If you're such a Billy badass. Because, see, I really, see, my grandmother, she had this weird disease where all of a sudden one day she started with, she got in a car accident and she got anxiety off that, right? And I think the anxiety with life, no coping for it, it just manifested in her body to where she ended up being like, really dizzy. It was some, like, I don't know, like they acted like it was vertigo at first, like symptoms of vertigo, but something was going on with her neurologically. But that's why I always felt like that shit was spiritual, because she, anyways, her illness, it was deteriorating, but it wasn't like a death sentence. My grandma would be still alive now. Even if she had to still be sitting in a chair and someone had to care for her, she'd be still alive. Okay? I think they were tired of taking care of her and they're ready to get that money. So I feel like my grandfather and my grandmother, and not my grandfather and my mother, decided when it was time. They decided that it was time. And I believe it was by tea, unsuspecting by her. Oh, what is your nighttime tea, Mom? You know, she had a hospital stay. Perhaps the hospital stay, they tried it the first time, but she lived. So now they gave her a little mo. This is just... And so my grandma died and nobody suspected anything because she was sick. No. And the funeral was 2 weeks. 4/15 was the funeral. 4/14 though, my uncle, my grandmother's youngest son, dies suddenly, also at the house. They say congenital heart disease, heart something. It was weird though, because I was feeling all types of heart pains and shit, man. That voodoo shit real. I wonder, I have wondered, was that intentional or a backfire of spell work, his death? Because it was not fucking natural. Okay? I've wondered that. And I think it was intentional because I believe that he would not be able to stomach all that has happened. I can't see my uncle, not that uncle, sitting back and trying to destroy me. And knowing, because he probably knew about the, like, sitting back and trying and doing me dirty. I don't think my uncle would have. He would have felt like that was wrong. You know, even if he didn't stand up for me, because obviously I come from a long line of bitch ass niggas. Okay, but yeah. And then if they found out that they'd hurt my grandma, ooh, maybe he was asking questions. Maybe he was like, "What? I just said she was all right." Like, he would not have fucked with that. He would not have thought that was cute. I think my oldest uncle, I think he don't know about my grandma. I think he thinks that's natural and would never think, and never would be like, no. I never would have thought that. That shit came to me. My grandmother came to me in fairy form. I expected her in angel form. And I'm just like, oh, grandma, it's okay. Oh, that's the thing. That's how I knew I was in contact with her. The day she died, I lit the candle, a little small one in a jar. It was the last of a pack of 6 that had all burned clean. And I waited, like, the next day my kids came from school and I was like, oh guys, you know, my grandma died. And like my kids were just, you know, natural, like, oh. And I was like, it's okay because, you know, she's sick, she's in a better place. And when I tell you, this is on my altar. When I tell you that motherfucking candle, as I'm speaking this to my 2 oldest children, that candle, we both looked over. And the motherfucking altar was on fire. Okay, I had to go over there and put the altar out. And the candle had burst open, and, you know, so I memorialized it. I left it right there until I moved. Put it right there, left it, put some little glitters and some other stuff. Because I knew my grandma had showed up, but it was like we all kind of seen how I was trying to say, oh, it was natural, it's okay. And she was like, no! I was like, oh. That's when wouldn't that make you feel away? Is that crazy of me to start being like, why did grandma seem a little unsettled in her death? What the hell? You know, like maybe it just, you know, it's just how I felt, you know, and then I used this deck because I felt weird. Let me show you. I want to see the card that let me know it was my grandfather. We're going to take the time to find it. And anybody who's in my family will know exactly why. You won't question it. Why I related it to my grandfather. I never had that. That's not something I ever was like, oh, maybe they're all just weirdo. I never thought this. So the fact that I think this, it's just like, it's because it's true. You know? I'm like, dang. I know the exact card, too. If that card's not in this deck, I'm going to be like, whoa. Because we're getting down to the last couple. Why isn't that card in this deck, bro? That's mad weird. I just went through the whole thing and I know the exact card I'm looking for. I wanted to show it. I've had this deck for a while. So, you know, sometimes you do lose cards out of it, but it's like, really? Maybe I had separated it at some point. Hell yeah, I'm looking back again because I know what I'm looking for. It's this one. Yeah, it was a king card. Boom. Because it freaking looks like my grandfather. So, anyways, the way it hit at the time, I stopped, I prayed, I said, God, please don't let me. Because I was already dabbling in the cards and shit. You know what I'm saying? I was already dabbling. So I was like, I'm not losing my motherfucking mind, am I? Like, I don't want to just be suspicious like that. You know what I'm saying? Okay, yeah, this is it. I'm like, I'm not losing my mind. Am I? Like, you know, I don't want to be believing stuff that's not true. That's what I prayed about. And the only thing that ever happened since then is my suspicions getting more and more strong. Okay? And more and more confirmation. I mean, my mother's death was like the biggest confirmation. I'm like, death, not death. I don't know. I text my grandfather and I asked him listen, if ain't no foul play, right? Even if it was like the money was stolen, because I know about the money because they told me about the money. So that's how I know about it. So I'm not like, oh, I'm just looking for somebody. No. I know about it. You know, and I was told that it was a trust. So I should have received something, like, even if it's split or whatever. But, like, I should have received some level of notification, but I did not. And I asked my grandfather straight up. And I didn't talk to my mom because I knew she was already fucking lying. If she was going to tell me the truth, she would have fucking told me. And then she ended up dying. Not dying. Because where's the death record at this point? I just like to see it. Hey, maybe I just have the county wrong. Maybe I just have the county wrong. But yeah, it's not that hard to fucking respond though and be like, such and such county. So it's not hard to talk to me. I'm not a difficult person to communicate with at all. I'm actually one of the easiest. Okay, I'll make it easy for you. I'll make it comfy for you. Been doing that. So now I feel like I'm gonna go ahead and end this. Thank you for watching.